Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my new tutorial. Today we're going to do realistic fire in Houdini. Now, I have done a tutorial on realistic fire before. However, this is going to be a simpler way of achieving the result that you are seeing right now. Before I go ahead, there are a couple of announcements. Number one, I made an explosion video some time ago. I am currently creating a tutorial for that, so please stay tuned. I will be releasing that pretty soon. Number two, it's better you watch this one.
Hey, what's up guys? This is Krishna here. First of all, thank you for subscribing to my channel and supporting me. We have 2,000 of them right now. It's fantastic, and thank you very much again. Second, we are going to start a channel for my son because he did a tutorial recently on Houdini and you guys liked it, so why not? So he's going to be doing some maybe silly tutorials or maybe some VFX or dancing, I don't know. What you got to say about it? There's a little man.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Results Picture Company.
No, not mine. Well, by the way, his channel is gonna be Jayko, and I will leave a link in the description for you guys. Okay, check it out. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, as per the video, I will leave a link for the channel in the description. Please subscribe, and I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Let's go straight on to it. To save time, I have created a Pyro source, a camera, and a dome light and a spotlight. Okay, it's no big deal. So let's go inside of Pyro source. And here there's a box. I just changed it to polygon mesh and gave it divisions of 20, 10, and 5. And then I transformed it into this little thing here. Which is a scale of 1.4, 0.04, 0.1, and on the translate and the Y, I just made it in such a way that the Y scale, I copied this and pasted it here and divided by 2 so that it sits on the ground plane. Okay, that's all it is. So next thing, let's see, camera, nothing special. It's in fact 2K resolution. Maybe I should change that, but never mind. Okay, light dome, I've got Video Copilot environment lights, so I use that. Let me see if I can see it. No, I can't. Maybe now. Yeah, now I can. All right, well, I'm going to disable that for now. Our spotlight, I have a spotlight somewhere here, up right above it. Okay. So let's go back to the cam. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the power source and go to shelf tool and click on flames icon. And it creates a bunch of nodes for us. I didn't want to do it because why bother? Because you know, it does it for you. So there's no point in doing it all. So let me just set this up accordingly. Right, okay. That's looking good. I'm going to uncheck the display flag for Pyro source. Let's go in. Now there are going to be 3 parts to this. One is the source, and the second one is going to be the auto DOP network itself, and the third one we're going to do the rendering. Okay, so first let's see, the shelf tool created all these files for us, nodes for us. So I'm going to pull this down a little. I'm going to create an ISO offset. And the reason is because I'd like to create my own input instead of using the input here, okay, as a surface scatter. And I know that there is a volume scatter here also, but I like to do this way. Okay, it's easier for me. The next thing is scatter. I mean, you can leave it the way it is, or you can change it to volume scatter if you like here, but I'm going to do it this way. So scatter, I'm going to leave the total count to 1000 and relax iterations to 10. I'm going to connect that here, And in create fuel, I'm going to change the particle separation. First of all, I'm going to change the mode to keep input and particle separation to 0.011 because I know that's what worked for me before. And I don't like to have the scale more than 1, or in fact anything but 1, because I'd like to make these modifications inside of the auto DOP network if I need to. Okay, and that's it for create fuel. I'm going to move on to add noise. Inside of add noise, I'm going to change the mode to multiplicative because as soon as so let me just click on the out fuel here, okay, first, and why is it, come on, don't do that. Let me change this to dark background so you can see better. That one, let me choose it here actually. So in add noise, come on, I'd like to show you the output here. Okay, so let me just pin this one in here. Oh, come on, it's not doing that. Oh, because it's the same node. Oh, all right, never mind. Okay, so in the add noise, if you change this to additive and you go in here, you can't see anything. What is happening? All right, anyway, let me just put this back to, I don't know, 0.5 or something. Okay, so that's how it looks like in the additive mode. In multiplicative mode, it looks like that. And it's important you get a high frequency noise when it comes to fire. If it were an explosion, it'll be a different case. Okay, I may be able to use the additive mode, no problem, but for this one I'm going to use multiplicative. Okay, and I'm going to put the particle separation to 0.11 again, and add noise. I'm going to change the noise type to alligator, leave the animated checkbox, and remap noise. I want anything below 0 to be 0. I don't want anything below 0, basically. I want a maximum of 2, round number. And distribution is how your noise is distributed along the horizontal axis. Okay, so from a minimum to a maximum. So I'm going to change this slightly because I know that that's what worked for me. So I'm going to change this up like that, and I'm going to change that one also up like this. Okay, somewhat like that. All right, good. And then when it comes to the pulse duration, is how fast does the noise move. Now if this, let's look at it here. Pulse duration, if you hover the pointer over, it says time rate of change of noise pattern is inversely proportional to the pulse duration. Only available when animated is enabled, which is this animated checkbox. Okay, so it is available for us. So I'm going to change this to 0.2. Okay, so and also we need the element size to be pretty small because again this is a fire, not an explosion. So we want a small element size. Okay, so if I run this now, nothing is really animating here. Okay, the noise itself is probably animating. It isn't. All right, fair enough. Okay, so what we're going to do though is this. We're going to add a $t, which is time, multiplied by 2. And I'm going to copy this and paste it on the Y and Z axis as well. Now, well, where is it? Now it moves like that, all right? So, which is good. I'd like to use the fractal type in particular for fire because it does need high frequency noise and a lot of noise. I'm going to enable lattice warp as well. Again, all of this is related to noise, okay? Nothing more, nothing less. So I'm going to change the lattice warp to 0.5. I'm going to bring the frequency down to 0.04, and I'm going to enable gradient warp, and I'm going to bring it to 0.08, and I'm going to leave the minimum checkbox checked in. All right, so that's all looking good. The next part is the rasterize. I'm going to leave the voxel size as it is. It's generated by the Flames shelf tool, but I'm going to put in a coverage attribute here, fuel. Okay, and I'm just going to delete this render because we don't need that. Okay, I'm going to press LH to lay it out. And that's our Pyro source done. We're going to move on to DOP Network now. Okay, inside of the DOP Network, what I'd like to do first of all is move the box above the ground plane, okay? Just above the ground plane. So I'm just going to paste the size of the y-axis into the center and divide it by 2 so it sits on the ground plane. Okay, and then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to just disable this for a second, and I'm going to bring this down so it's only to the size of the camera, because there's no point in wasting time beyond this range. The next thing is I'm going to close the boundaries in negative y direction. Okay, and I'm also going to do the same with the resize container here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so next let's jump into the Pyro solver. Actually, before that, Pyro source. Let me just check if it's populated everything. We've got fuel, we've got temperature, and we've got velocity. So all of them are in. That's good. So let's jump into Pyro solver. The most important thing here for fire, which has rapid movements, is the time scale. You definitely want to bring this up to 2 because it actually moves rapidly in real life. Okay. Now, if you go any further up to 4, for an example, it just behaves weirdly. Okay. Temperature diffusion is the amount of blur that occurs with the temperature. Now, I don't want too much of that because, again, this is fire and it is at a close range. Okay, so I'm going to change it to 0.01. I'm going to change the cooling rate, which is the amount of cooling that happens, and I don't want it too much, I don't want it too less. So exactly right in between, 0.5 looks better. Buoyancy lift, you know what it is. By the way, I assume that you already know how to operate or use Houdini, and you are familiar with the user interface and everything. Okay, so I'm going to change the buoyancy lift to 0.5. Okay, so ignition temperature is when the fuel reaches this temperature, it will ignite it. I don't want it at 0.1. I don't want it at -1 because -1 means ignite everything instantly. I want to set it to 2 because if you remember in the source, we set this from a minimum of 0 to 2. Okay, so there will be a lot of fuel. There'll be a lot of fuel points which will be at 2 at some point. All right, so that's why I want to change the ignition temperature to 2. So I'm going to leave the burn rate at 0.9. Burn rate is the percentage of fuel that burns, which is 90% of the fuel. Fuel inefficiency, I'm going to reset to default. I only want 1% of fuel inefficiency. So fuel inefficiency will move the temperature up, okay? So controls how much of burnt fuel is actually not burnt but kept, okay? So that will increase the height of the flames. If you increase this too much, nothing will be burnt and everything will just go up, all right? Temperature output is the amount of force that is applied. So if I read this, the amount to increase the temperature field by for every unit of fuel consumed. I will actually show you in real time what happens with this. You know what, as a matter of fact, let me just push this up to 10, okay? And I've disabled the simulation here. Just save this. And if I run this now, you'll notice that it goes like crazy. All right. Now, if I reset this to default, it won't do that. Okay, as you can see. So that's the amount of push that goes up. So be careful with that. It's a very good parameter, but you got to be very careful when using that. I want to change the gas release to 1 because I know that it's too much of gas already in there. All right, so that is pretty good. I mean, it's not really good right now, but it will get better. So I'm going to change the division size to 0.01 because that's just too low res right now. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. Okay, just going to press escape, get rid of that box. I'm going to change this to smooth shaded. All right, good, that's fine. Now I'm going to change the flame height to 4 because I know that that's what worked for me previously. I'm going to leave the smoke and the gas as they are. I'm going to move on to temperature, and I'm going to enable flames influence cooling rate. Okay, so that just there's no help file on this. Okay, so there will be documentation and side effects which you can check out. But my understanding is that it will cool the flames down. All right, that's what it is. And I'm going to change the flame contribution to 1. So also, yeah, that's about it on this tab here. Okay, let's move on to shape tab now. So we've got 3 of these enabled. I want all of this enabled. Okay, so dissipation 0.1 is good. Disturbance, I want 0.01 because I don't want too much of disturbance because it's a close shot as well, and I want shredding to be very, very small amount. That's why it's 0.001. Shredding will create, let me just show you this, right? So if I were to say 10, there'll be a lot of shredding. Okay, I mean, it's not even allowing it to come up anymore. So if I say 0.1, so you can see the grain sort of things. Okay, so that's basically shredding. You would only use shredding in a fire or explosion. You will not use that for smoke. Again, that's my understanding. So I'm going to change this to 0.001 because I don't want too much of that. Sharpening 0.01. Turbulence 0.01. I don't want any of this too much. Okay. Confinement, though, it boosts the swirls where they exist, increasing curlness in the simulation that would otherwise be lost by the grid resolution. So I want to change this to 10. Now let me just show you what's going on here, right? So that's what it is at right now. Okay. So if I were to change this to say 100, just to give you an example, yeah, that's probably too much. That's what is happening. It's just exploding. It's just going, boosting all the swirls that are happening due to turbulence and disturbance. Okay. Oh no, get out of here. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I think there's a little bit, I need a little more disturbance here. Okay, so I'm going to change the disturbance to 0.1. Okay, so that's better. I'm going to leave the dissipation as it is, and then I'm going to move to disturbance. I'm going to change the block size to 0.05 just to keep it round number. Let's move on to shredding. So I want the shredding, even though the shredding is a very small amount, I want the shredding to only happen at 0.1. Okay, so temperature threshold. You don't want the shredding to happen at 0.75. Now again, you know, you can read about all this in side effects documentation. So next is stretch. Stretch, I want to change it to 0.1. I'll show you an example, right? So I gotta let it run for a little bit here. Okay, so that's how it looks right now, as you can see. I know it doesn't look good, but anyway. So if I change the stretch to 10, this is going to stretch a lot further up. That's what that is, okay? And it's going to stretch a lot, and it's just going to look horrible. Next is the control settings. I want to change the control field to velocity. And I want the control influence to be 0.5 because I want it controlled 50%. Now, this may not make much of a difference because of the amount of shredding that is happening, but even though it's a subtle change, it does make a difference at the end, okay? And I'm going to remap the control field, and I want it random, okay? So I'm going to just do this, oops, in here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so nothing changes in visualization and bindings. I'm going to leave the sharpness at default. In turbulence though, I don't want too much of turbulence, so I'm going to change the swirl size to 0.1 so it creates little swirls instead of huge swirls or big swirls. But I'm going to change the grain to 10, and this is an important parameter. A scale on the noise added to the swirls with the turbulent parameter. Now this will create that effect that the fire needs, okay? So it's hard to display it here, okay? Once we get the final result, I'll disable these things and I'll show you the difference. And I also want to reduce the turbulence here, which is let's see here, adds churning noise to the velocity field. You should generally use this to add powerful, large, low frequency noise, okay? And it, you know, we don't need too much of this because we need high frequency, all right? I'm going to do exactly the same as what I did for shredding in turbulence. I'm going to use the remap control field, and I'm going to pull these up and down randomly because all of this helps. Okay, I think that should be all right. Nothing to change in visualization and bindings. In confinement, I'm going to check the control field and change confinement to velocity, not VL. Well, and remap control field. And that's all. Nothing else changes here. I don't want to change any of these, so they all stay as default. And color, relationship, they're all going to stay the same. Advanced, I'm going to check use OpenCL and go to rest field. Oh, I'm going to use OpenCL because I have a good GPU. If you don't have GPU, then don't use it. Or don't have good GPU, don't use it. I'm going to also enable rest. I'm using it just in case, but you will need it if you're going to render this in Mantra and you're going to use noise, okay? So I think that's about it on this one. I forgot one more thing in advanced. In advection, I want to change the advection type to BFECC, and that worked the best for this type, for fire anyway. Advection is basically an algorithm that uses to advect the fields, okay? So I think that's it. We're done with Pyro Solver here. And I'm going to add a few more nodes now. I'm going to add the first node, which is gas vortex boost. And I'm going to create a merge field because I'll be adding more nodes now. And I'm going to connect to velocity update right in the middle. And I'm going to check the gas vortex boost, uncheck visualize energy, change the swirl size to 0.4 because that basically creates swirls, and I'm going to leave the rest at default and go to advanced and check use OpenCL again. If you don't have good GPU, don't do that. Next thing is I'm going to use gas match field. And I'm going to connect it here. And I'm going to say, right, so this says the name of a field that one wants to create. So what we want to create is wind. And the reference field is velocity. Okay? And rank, I want to change it from scalar to vector. Because velocity is a vector. Okay? And now I'm going to use a gas wrangle and connect it here. I'm going to say v at wind equals open parentheses, flower brackets, they call here. I'm going to say is my negative 0.5 in the x and 0.1 in the y and 0.1 in the z direction. And I'm going to multiply that by a channel float, CHF, calling it mult. And I'm going to close the bracket and semicolon. And click on this icon. I know that it'll be too much, so I'm going to leave the multiplier at 0.2. We can change these things later on again to experiment with it. The next one I want to add is gas advect field. Oops. Gas advect field. Connected. These three nodes works together, okay? Alright, so in gas advect field, what field do you want to affect using the wind? I want to affect, let's see here, density. I want to affect fuel. I want to affect temperature. I want to affect velocity and heat. I think that's all of it. And then in velocity field, I want to change it to wind, because that's what we want to affect all of these fields. I want to change the advection scheme to BFECC. Again, it's the better option that I found. And check use OpenCL here. Okay, that's I think it. So let us run this through now. Okay, it's throwing some kind of error here. So what is the error? Oh, yes, that's the wrong bracket. Okay, and that's better. Okay, that's how it looks like right now. Let's say if I want to increase the multiplier to 10, for example. There you go. You could tell already that it's going crazy. Okay, so it's definitely working. I also want to add one more wind, and this one more node, which is gas wind. Connected. Okay, and I'm going to change this to negative 0.1. I'm going to increase it on in the y direction to 1 because I want the flames to go up. I'm going to change the z direction to 0.1. Because I'm increasing this in the y direction to 1, I actually want to change the gas wrangle y direction to minus 0.1 so that it pushes it down. Okay, so it kind of has an effect. I think it works better. And the wind scale, I want to change it to 0.2 because I know that it's too much if I leave it at 1. The rest of them, I'm going to leave it at default. Okay, that looks pretty good now. I think it's shaping up very well and it looks pretty sweet. Let's go back out and set up the visualization, okay? Volume visualization. I'm going to type in density in density field and leave everything there as it is. I'm going to change the emission scale to 1 and emission field. I'm going to put in heat color field to temperature. Let me change the color ramp to black body. Okay, so let me just pull this up to here. That does not look good. I'm going to change it to 2 emission scale, and I'm going to check color range. I'm going to change this to 6. I think yeah, 6 is okay. But I'm going to pull this onto this side. Okay, I don't like too much of red in here. And again, this one as well, I think, and I'm gonna move this across to here. Okay, and I'm gonna maybe push this to the side. Maybe I'll make another one like that right there. Okay, I think that's okay. That looks okay, but something's wrong. Let me just change this to temperature. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. See, you have these options available here anyway. So I'm gonna change the color field to heat. That's what it should have been in the first place, I think. But I'm gonna change the emission scale to 6. Maybe this one. Reduce it down. Okay, so that looks a lot better now. There you go. That looks like something we want to see, I guess. All right, okay. So we're gonna move on to the third part now, which is the rendering part, okay? But again, we will come back and change these parameters and do that. But you don't have to stay for that part if you don't want to after we complete the rendering. But if you do want to stay and have a look at it, it's up to you. And you're more than welcome to do so. Alright, so let's create, we've already got, you know what, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to create Redshift renderer, and I'm going to go into IPR, select that and push it in there, and I'm going to go into IPR, Redshift ROP node IPR, and then uncheck IPR progressive rendering, go to Redshift system, and then change the bucket size to 256, okay? While I'm here, I might as well enable global illumination. Primary engine brute force, secondary engine brute force. Okay, that looks good so far. I'm gonna go to shop. Do you know what? I want to show you something, right? So if I go into Flames is created by default when you click on the shelf tool. I'm going to create RS volume here, okay? And I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to choose RS volume into material, select the material, and we're at frame number 24 right now. And I'm going to change the parameters here, okay? So we want the emission to be temperature. Is that right? Yeah, temperature. And emission black body, okay? So if I go into render, whoa, that's taking a long time. That's because it's a 2K. All right, I'm gonna change this. Well, actually, if I go into out and override cam, I'm gonna change it to quarter of the resolution, just to speed up the process, I guess, or half the resolution, maybe. Yeah, let's stick with that. Okay, so the point is that I was trying to make is that if I choose the volume in material context and assign it to Pyro, it comes up with nothing. You know, I'll increase the scale. It comes up with nothing. I don't know if this is a bug or not. I have no idea. With Redshift, but anyway, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to go to shop. I'm going to create RS volume in here, and I'm going to assign that to this now. Okay, and now if I choose channel temperature, Density is already assigned, so we don't need that. Why is it taking such a long time? Okay, so it's doing something now because it's in the shop context. Okay, so I don't know why that is. I'm going to change it to black body. Yeah, there you go. That looks good. But maybe I need to change the channel to heat instead of temperature because maybe it's not very good. Okay, so that's what we got right now. I'm going to increase the scale to, I don't know, 10 maybe. I don't know why it's taking such a long time to render that. I just wonder. There are spotlight, temperature, intensity, they're all good. Why is it? What's the matter with you? Okay, I'm gonna just kill the global illumination for now. I think that works faster. Slightly, I guess. Quarter of the resolution. Yeah, maybe that's better for now. I'll leave it at quarter of the resolution. Okay. So let's go back to shop RS volume. I'm going to change the scale really high, okay? Because I'm going to change it on this side here later on. So first of all, I don't like any red creeping in a lot. So I'm going to change this to, I don't know, some sort of an orangey thing. And I'm going to push it all the way to here. And I'm going to create another one right around here. I'm going to pull this over and change this one a little bit darker. Okay, so if you want to know, so that is this color right here. Okay, maybe you can note it down. This one is this color right here, and I'm gonna push the yellow all the way over to here because you don't want too much of white, I guess. And I'm gonna click right in the middle. I'm gonna push this down to here. So it creates that effect that we need, sort of. And I'm gonna make this, actually, you know what? I'm gonna create another one of those right here. Again, this color. And I'm gonna push it right to the middle. And I'm gonna make it slightly yellowish, maybe just a touch. I'm going to set this up and I'm going to come right back, okay? Okay, so we're back now. I changed this to RS Fire. Just didn't like RS Volume 1. And this is the ramp I set up. So this is at position 0, color is black. And this one is at position this. I mean, you can, I guess, copy these numbers. Just click on each one of these. And this is what worked best for me. I'm just going to render this while I click through these buttons for you, okay? Okay, so let me explain why I've got these blacks here, okay? So if I were to, let me just get a slightly better frame number. Okay, so the reason why I got a black here is because if I were to pull this down, you'll see that there's a lot of overexposed parts, okay, coming up, creeping up. All right, even here it's the same. You'll start to see that the overexposed parts creep up. May not be that much right now, but maybe once we adjust it, you will see it. I'll come back to this, okay? I'm just gonna Control Z these. All right, so next part is going to advanced, and I'm gonna change the old. Let me just render this because it's too bright around here. I want to just reduce this, okay? So maybe 2 will work fine. Yeah, that's so much better now, so much better. And leave the new max at 1, okay? I also want to reduce the scatter in here, okay? So I'm just gonna pull this further in a little bit because I don't want too much of smoke coming out. In a fire, usually you don't see that much of smoke unless you want to. Of course, you know, you can, but I like this one. So this is the value and this is the color and whatnot, okay? So you can see that the smoke is almost so dark that you cannot see it. But if I go to alpha, even the alpha doesn't, oh, you can see a little bit here. And in alpha, you can see all of that, okay? So if I were to take that away, we'll see a lot more of that coming in, hopefully. Where is it? There you go. So there's a lot more of it. So I'm going to just press Control Z, and that should now disappear. Okay, good. I think it's going to crash on me. Okay, so as I said, I will come back to this now, right? So if I, you can see that there's not much of overexposure here, okay? So if I were to pull both of these down, both of these out, you'll see it'll okay, maybe this is a bad frame that you can't see that, but let me take a shot of that for a second, and I'll press Control Z again. Yeah. Yeah, you can see, you can tell now there's so much of bright spots here. Now I've got them all down to sort of a normal level. So that's what I'm talking about, all right? So that's good. Okay, so that looks good. But I think it can be a little taller. So I'm going to go into combustion. I'm going to change the gas release to 4. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Okay, so let's run it now. That looks a lot better, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little render, and I'm going to come back to you. Okay. Okay, the rendering is now done. I'll show you now. So there it is. I only did 48 frames, okay? I didn't want to do anything more because it was taking time. But this is the end result we were looking for. What I did was I added a grid. There you go. There's the grid right there. Oops. And I edited it by pulling it up a little bit like that. By the way, it's a NURBS type. And then I transformed it, and then I converted it back to polygons. Okay, that's the grid. And what I did was, what else did I do? I didn't add global illumination. I removed that. Yes, this is what I did, right? So for an example, if I were to go in here, cam1. Okay, so if I were to go in render view here, Okay, so it's rendered it. So if I go to this gear icon, enable post effects. Now that's what I did, okay? So I enable post effects and I will just enable them one by one. So I checked photographic exposure and then allow desaturation. And this is a very cool thing, because then it'll just desaturate it to the correct levels instead of being orange and all. You know, I always use this. And then I did a little bit of color correction, I think. Yeah, I did. And then I added some bloom. So you can change the bloom threshold and whatnot. You just got to do this for one frame, and when you render it here, it'll just continue to work on the rest of the frames. I also added a flare, and that's why you saw the flare earlier. I think the flare is right here. Okay, so that's the end result. Obviously, you know, you got to render more and at a high resolution to get better, even better result, like this one. So let's now move on to the ones that we talked about earlier, which is basically, let's go into DOP Network and let's change some of these things. Okay, so for example, which one was it? This was one of them. Okay, so at 24 it looks like that, all right, which is, if you come out and uncheck this, it looks like that and looks like this. It's a very slight difference, but you know, it does make a difference. Okay, and then if I go back in, re-enable this, and what else did we say we're going to change? I honestly don't remember. Okay, let's say shredding. Okay, so I'm going to go to frame number 24 again. And I will uncheck this. See the difference? So it's up to your liking, you know. If you want to have no shredding at all, you could go for that because it looks better, or you can have a little bit of shredding and, you know, you can go with this, or you can change how the shredding is done right here. So it's up to you, entirely up to you. And this obviously changes how your fire appears. And it's the same for turbulence, confinement, disturbance, etc., etc. I think particularly, let me see here, turbulence. Turbulence is a major factor here, okay? So let me just uncheck turbulence and let me run it to 24 frames. Yeah, there is the difference right there. So over time you'll see a lot more difference. Okay, so for example, if I were to run this to 36, okay, and that's what we did previously with turbulence. This is without turbulence. Okay, again, it all depends on what you like. So, you know, as I said at the start, you can play around with these things all day long. So, you know, it's up to you. Okay, anyway, so I hope it helped, and I hope that you will make some stuff like this and send it to me. You know, maybe I can look at it. That'd be great if you can. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. And please be safe out there. Bye.